Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Drake Davis. This is Stay in Process. If you're listening to this on a podcast, you know what this is about. This is a place where I come to talk about the process, talk about staying in process, and really just discuss mental models that I'm currently revisiting, things that are relevant in my life currently I share with you guys and kind of bring it back to the process. And for anybody that's new here, I was a baseball player. I played in college for 5 years. I played at Arizona State my freshman year, and then I transferred to the University of Minnesota, where I played 3 years, and ended up going to Santa Clara for my 5th year, where I played my grad year. Ultimately blew out my knee, so I didn't really play much. But throughout my career, I had a lot of adversity. I struggled with the mental side especially, and so, as I've gone into a career, working with people on the mental side of the game, no matter what the sport is, has become very important to me. And so I'm currently working in mental performance. I run operations, I run sales, I run marketing, but I also help with the coaching. And so I find a lot of value and a lot of purpose in sharing my experience, because I am somebody that struggled with this throughout my entire career, and sharing it with you guys as things come up. And so this past weekend was opening weekend for baseball. I think it's a great time to make a video, a great time to make a podcast, to just talk about opening weekend. Because going into opening weekend, obviously everybody has a lot of expectations, no matter what the sport is. For baseball, it's opening weekend where you're going to play 3 games. Maybe it's the first football game of a season. Whatever it is, everybody always has expectations for how it should be. Now, speaking specifically to baseball, I always put a lot of pressure on myself to go out there opening weekend and be perfect. And if you've listened to this podcast before, if you watch any of my videos, a lot of what I talk about is subordinating your ego, quieting the ego in your mind, and playing a longer game. A lot of the time people get caught up in this short-term game of, I have to be perfect this weekend. I have to go out there and perform exactly like I'm supposed to and be amazing. And I just find that this mentality sets you up to fail, because it's a long season, especially in baseball. It is going to be a long season, and your opening weekend does not determine how your season is going to turn out. But when I play, I reflect on my time at Minnesota, my time at Arizona State especially. I went out, actually my time at Santa Clara as well. Every single one of those places, I never started strong. At Santa Clara, I started off the season by giving up a walk-off grand slam, blowing a save. At Minnesota, I had a season where I started really strong. I had a season where I started poorly. And I just remember sitting in the car with my girlfriend of 5 years now. Her name is McKaylin. I remember sitting in the car with McKaylin at the University of Minnesota, just a wreck, like melting after week 1. I remember calling my dad after giving up a grand slam and melting about it. Like I had no mental toughness. And so, speaking on mental toughness, there is a video of Nick Saban, and I'm going to play it here in a couple seconds. But Nick Saban is talking about hurricanes and installing new windows. And he asked the guy, hey, why would I choose that window over that window? And the guy says, because that window, it takes more to break it. Really what he's saying there is, when in terms of mental toughness, your mental toughness is defined by what it takes to ultimately break you.
All right, the first thing you have to do is you have to have toughness. All right, you got to be tougher than everybody that we play. All right, but, I've never stood up here in all the time that I've been here and never really defined toughness for you. The way I'm going to define toughness to you, because I'm talking about mental toughness, and I think everybody can relate to it, is it's all about what does it take to break you. And the reason I come to this is we had to put hurricane windows in our house in Florida on the beach. All right, so I asked the guy, how do you figure out that these windows are better than those windows? What does it take to break them? All right, so if you really think about toughness and mental toughness, what does it take to break you? I don't care what circumstance you're faced with. What does it take to break your focus because you get frustrated about what happened on the last play? What does it take to make you give in because it's hot outside, or you're tired, or you don't feel like running to the ball or giving effort or finishing the play like you should because of how you feel, whether you're a little bit hurt? What does it take to break you? So everybody here has got to have a lot of mental toughness to be able to sustain what we do at a high level. And just because you got beat on the last play, that can't affect your next play. All right? Or that's breaking you. Your frustration is breaking you. Just because you miss a block, or you get blocked, or you miss a tackle, or you fumble the ball. What does it take to break you?
And so as I talk to guys, and I've been talking to guys after opening weekend who maybe didn't get the results that they wanted, that's the question. What does it take to break you? Is it really one weekend series, 3 games? Is that what's going to break you? 15 at-bats, 3 innings pitched, that's what's going to define your season? You're already mentally broken? Or have you done the work for the last 8 months preparing yourself for this season to be able to play a longer game, to be able to collect information unemotionally, and to be able to use that information to improve your process? And again, like, these people get caught up in short-term thinking. And so you go out and you go 2 for, call it 14 in your first 14 at-bats. It's not what you want. But for you to get caught up in, oh my God, I got to make an adjustment. I got to change my swing. Or I went out and I had a tough first outing. I got to change my mechanics. I need to change my grip on my curveball. Like, you're setting yourself up to fail. Again, it is your commitment to your process that determines your progress. And so before the season, these past 8 months, you have defined what it takes for you to be successful. And the whole reason that I have this podcast is to remind you to stay in process. And so even when it's not going your way, it's important that you're able to take a step back, take a breath, and get back to the present moment. Get back to the now. Get back to what is important right now. And we cannot change what happened this past weekend. Let it go. Refocus. We cannot control what's going to happen in the upcoming weeks. All we can control is what we are doing today. Giving our full attention to the present moment, to the immediate moment, to what's right in front of me. And I know that's simple, it's not always easy, but I do think it is the answer to optimal performance. Again, I was somebody that literally didn't do this. And I reflect on it, and I just wish I would have had somebody that looked at me and said, Drake, chill out, dude. Trust your process. Like, are you that fragile that you are going to break after one weekend? And I didn't have anybody to tell me that. And so obviously it compounds. And a bad feeling, a negative emotion, a bad weekend turns into a personality that now I am pessimistic. I am complaining. I am frustrated, and I carry it with me into my relationships. And all of a sudden it's just who I am. And so you have to see the importance of closing the thought loop, getting back to the present, taking the information for what it is, using it to get better throughout the week, and focusing on your next best decision, because that's really all you have. I think back to this video of Dan Campbell, the head coach of the Detroit Lions. Anybody that knows the Lions knows that they were the worst team in football. He came in as a Detroit guy. He played in Detroit, and he became the head coach. And I'll play the video in here as well. It's a badass video.
This place has been kicked, it's been battered, it's been bruised, and I can sit up here and give you coach speak all day long. I can give you, hey, we're going to win this many games. I can't, but none of that matters, and you guys don't want to hear it anyway. You've had enough of that. We're going to kick you in the teeth, and when you punch us back, we're going to smile at you, and when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing. All right, that's going to be the mentality. All right, we're going to be competitive every game. I can't sit up here and guarantee wins and losses, but I'll guarantee you this, man, these guys are going to fight, and they're going to scratch and claw, and they're going to be something this city's proud of, because they're going to take on the identity of this city.
But he's talking about how he's not going to come in and promise wins and losses. Why? Because we can't control them. We're not going to come in and promise wins and losses, but what he is going to promise to Detroit, to anybody that watches, is that this team is going to, as he says, bite a kneecap off. They're going to embody the characteristics of a team that is gritty, that is aggressive, that is doing everything they can to win. And I love that, because he gets back to the process over the outcome. He's not so focused on wins and losses and record. He is focused on embodying the characteristics of somebody who is aggressive, consistent, and all in. And so as we get back to the process, we get back to a longer game, thinking about an entire season, I would challenge anybody that is playing a baseball season this year to embody the characteristics of somebody that is consistent. Control the controllables. Focus on the process. For you to be checking your stats, your batting average, how many strikeouts you've had as a hitter or how many strikeouts you've had as a pitcher, how you compare to the world. Like, you are playing the wrong games. You are playing the wrong games. This is a competition between you and you. This is your art. Go out there and allow it to be your art. Go out there and allow yourself to just compete in the present moment and see how good you can actually be. You're playing baseball on a big scale. A lot of the people that listen to this podcast are Division I baseball players. And so you are literally at the highest level of collegiate baseball. What an opportunity it is to go out there and just test how good you are. This is all practice. And when I talk to these guys that have aspirations to play professional baseball, if that's really your goal, you can't be a professional baseball player as a freshman. It doesn't matter. You can go out there and go crazy as a freshman. You still got to do it as a sophomore and junior. And so if that's the case, check yourself. A checkup from the neck up. Like, you're playing a longer game, collect the information, and use it over the next 3 years to be the best player that you can be. But man, to get so caught up in who you are at 18 years old or who you are in opening weekend is a recipe for disaster. And I think a lot of the time you see guys, like I think of Dylan Cease. He's a professional baseball player. I'm not sure who he's with now, but he was with the White Sox at one point. He goes out in spring training, and for anybody that doesn't know, spring training actually is starting up right now. If you're listening in February, it's about to start up for Major League Baseball. But this is the season before the season. This is the preseason where they get to go out there, they get settled in, they throw a couple bullpens, they throw a couple live outings, they throw some games, and then they go into the real season. And I think back to Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease goes out during spring training, and I think he walks like 5 guys, which is terrible. I think he gives up like 11 runs. Terrible. But then he goes out and I think he was in the running to win Cy Young in the regular season, which, for anybody that doesn't know, is the best pitcher in baseball. And so again, it is your commitment to your process that determines your progress. Success leaves clues. And so pay attention to that. Like, that is what it looks like to be a professional. An amateur looks at it and says, oh my God, I got to reinvent the wheel. I got to change everything. I had a bad weekend. I got to change everything. A professional looks at it and goes, I need a bigger sample size. I need to take this information and use it, but I also just need to give myself a chance to settle in. Like, some of these guys that are reaching out to me are 18 years old. You've never played college baseball. No shit, your heart's beating so fast you can hear it. No shit, your hands are shaking. No shit that you're so nervous and you're struggling to slow it down. That's part of the game. Like, you're not crazy. That's what I would want anybody to know, is like, you're not crazy for feeling that. So allow yourself to feel it. Allow yourself to settle in and play a longer game. Now, the second part of this that I want to talk about, I had a professional baseball player reach out to me, and he says to me, hey Drake, there's a lot of uncontrollables in baseball. A lot of this is up to luck, which is true. If you know baseball, a lot of it is up to luck. And how do I feel confident when I'm still a ways away from who I want to be, professional baseball, being a big leaguer? He's not a big leaguer yet. And how do I have that confidence when there's so many non-controllables and there's so many things that are up to luck? And I think it's a good question that a lot of guys have. And so my answer is really, first part, you can do confidence. I know that sounds crazy, but the way that you do confidence is you act as if, right? You fake it until you become it. And really what that means is you identify, hey, who is this person that I want to be? What does it look like? How do they carry themselves? How do they dress? How do they speak? How do they act? And then what are the emotions that these individuals feel every day? Will they probably feel present? Will they probably feel intentional? They probably feel calm. They probably feel trusting of themselves. Whatever it is that you identify for whatever you want to do, list them out and then live out those emotions every single day. It's work, right? It's going to take you being in the present moment and recognizing a negative thought, choosing to just note it and then let it go and get back to who you want to be. Future state. Like, who is it that I want to be? And so that's my first part of this is, hey, act as if, go out there and be the guy you want to be before the event has come. It's called reconditioning the body to a new mind. Feel the emotions of somebody who has accomplished what you want to accomplish. Walk in those emotions. Talk as if you've already have it. People call it manifestation, whatever you want to call it, but I do just think that where your focus goes, where you set your intention, energy flows. And so for the confidence piece, act as if you are somebody that has already accomplished what you want to accomplish. Now, the second part of this is the luck piece, the unknowns. That is absolutely a part of every single path, no matter what the endeavor is. And so my advice for anybody that is struggling with confidence because of the unknowns is to surrender to the unknown. Surrender to it. Like, you're not going to control it. Daily Stoic, Ryan Holiday, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, like all these famous philosophers are talking about controlling the controllables for a reason, because we cannot change it. This is ancient wisdom, and they're talking thousands and thousands of years ago about controlling the controllables for a reason. And so for you, I would say control the controllables, surrender to the process, and surrender to the unknown. And if you can walk into the unknown with full conviction and trust, the unknown will be kind to you. There's a famous golfer named Rory McIlroy who said that. I'll clip it right here.
If you don't fear the unknown will be kind to you. To me, like, it just resonated so much. It's like, oh, yeah, that's it.
Wow.
Like,
That's like what you always say too. Is
Yeah.
For the last couple of years, my quote has been, "In the unknown, there are endless possibilities."
that's it. That is it.
And then my last part of this, the confidence question again. Identify a process, work a process. Confidence comes from a stack of proof that you are the person that you say you are. And so list out the habits that the person that you want to be would be doing every single day, and then prove to yourself every single day that you are doing these things. And when you can look down and see all these green check marks that you are accomplishing the habits of somebody that is X, a big leaguer, a millionaire, whatever it is, when you can look at those check marks and know that you're doing the things to get to where you want to go, that is where confidence comes from, in my opinion. Right? We don't rise to our goals, we sink to our systems. You can have the biggest goals in the world to be whoever you want to be, but if you're not executing the systems, if you don't have the proof, then you have no reason to be confident. Honestly. I know that sucks, but that is where you can outwork your self-doubt. You can outwork your self-doubt and feel confident by having proof that you are that person. Now, as we go back, I just had another thought. As we go back to the individuals that reached out about opening weekend, the opening weekend blues, I also want to remind some of these people that, hey, a lot of these teams are playing indoors, and this is their first weekend playing outside. And so if that's the case, you again have to give yourself a chance to settle in. If you've played baseball, you know it's different to pick up the spin. You know it's different to throw on a dirt mound. Like, trust your track record. Know the facts. What are the facts? We have not played outside yet. Well, no shit, you guys are going to struggle when you go outside for the first time. You haven't seen live pitching outside yet. Well, obviously, it's going to be hard to pick up spin. And so know how to grade yourself, play a longer game, subordinate your ego, and ask yourself, what's going to break me? Because that ultimately is your level of mental toughness. And if you're going to break after week one, then you don't really deserve to even get the results and the career that you actually want, because you're not mentally tough enough. And so I know it's really simple and it's not easy, but you have to hold yourself accountable, because if you don't, it will spiral out of control. And I'm proof of that. I spiraled. Every week it just compounded, and I didn't have somebody to look at me and tell me to check myself and to play a longer game. And so it spirals. And so this is me as your accountability partner looking at you saying, humble yourself, quiet the ego, play a longer game, collect information, recommit to the process. And if we can do that, and we can do that for a long enough time, and we can surrender to the process, surrender to the results, surrender to the things that are out of our control, the unknown, we're going to be great. We're going to be great because we're going to continue to collect information. We're going to get a little bit better every single day. And that's the process. And especially for the guys at the higher level, like, the progress that you make is marginal. You make the progress in the margins. And so some days that looks like getting 1% better. I mean, that's really all I have. That's all I have today, is to remind you to play a longer game. It's to remind you to subordinate your ego and to just trust yourself a little bit and trust your process. Surrender to the unknown, surrender to the process, and you will be just fine. Pulling for you guys, stay in process. Cheers.